Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Paranormal Q&A with Jack, Kenna, and Carly Hall.
Hi,
How you doing, Carly?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Can't complain. Just messing around with our little view here for a minute. See. Michelle Millens is in. How you doing, Michelle? I see you out there. And just to remind people, our new show now goes live not only on Facebook but also on YouTube and Periscope, which is Twitter, actually. I guess Twitter's video stream, if you'd like to call it that. But we are live on 3 networks now. So it's always good to reach out to more people, get more people out there. Carl, I see Carl Mitchell just came in. Marianne Mackey just came in, and all from Facebook. So good to have you all. And we were just at a place recently called the USS Salem, and I did promise a certain someone I'd wear their T-shirt they gave us. Carly, you're supposed to be wearing yours too. But the Greater Boston Paranormal Association.
Yes.
So Don,
I was wearing
Don
it.
DeCristofano, there you go, and Susan Vegas and all that team. There you guys go. I kept my promise. We're wearing your shirt. But no, they're great. I'd wear their shirt anyway. It's nice.
Yeah.
It was nice of them to want to have us on there, and actually it was Chris Sanders, our good friend Chris Sanders, and his team who invited us to go with them, and I greatly appreciate that, and all those that whole team. They're a great bunch of people. Can't wait to investigate with them all again. We had some fascinating experiences on that ship. Bobby Carter, I see Bobby's out there. Barry Martz, I see Barry. Terry Egan, our friend Terry Egan's there. Chris is there. Hey, Chris, we were just talking about you. Your ears must have been burning. So all good though, Chris. We were just talking about our trip to the USS Salem, which is hosted by the Greater Boston Paranormal Associates. And we had a great time on there. Thanks for inviting us, Chris. We greatly appreciate that from you and your team. And if Chris, you're out there, throw out your team's name. If you want to throw a link out there to your team and stuff, that's fine. We don't mind anybody sharing all the paranormal stuff with our friends and everybody else out there. And I would say it would be a great place to bring our other friends like Bob Maloney and also Carl, and bring them out there as well. They'd have a great time.
Oh yeah.
Sure, Brookshire, I see is there. I think I said Bob Burnell. We already's out there. But if I say it again, Bob, that's okay. You live 5 minutes from the Salem. Well, we got invited, Bob. So Chris Sanders invited us. So I can't just invite other people when that happens. We got invited, so that was nice of Chris to do that, and we greatly appreciate it. And but yeah, I can't just when you're the one who's invited, you can't just invite more people. So, but Bob, next time when I go, Bob, I will make sure we invite you to come with us. I'll make sure we'll let you know we're going. And that'll probably be later in the year. I know some other friends of ours are doing an event out there in October. Carly, is it James Anito and Carl are doing an event? I think they're doing an event there in October.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah. James Anito and Carl Johnson. I think they're doing one. So we'll probably, if I think we're available, because I think they brought that up, and I think
you know what? Yes, because that's my birthday weekend. Remember?
Yeah. So it'd be a great birthday weekend. Hey, this is all about paranormal, and we always ask questions and stuff like that. Yeah, there you go, Chris. Thanks for sharing that link out there to your team and its Haunted Crew. And people, if you're looking at that, please check that out. It's Haunted Crew. Chris has a great team, great bunch of people, and we had some fascinating experiences. Matter of fact, if Chris is up for it, we could even drag him on here tonight and let him talk about what he experienced on that ship. But Carly, let's talk about you and what you experienced that night. and Chris says he's going back on the 17th.
Oh, awesome.
Something happened to you on the ship
Oh
that
yeah,
night.
that was cool. So it was the same place that Chris was having his experiences, but we went down into one of the bed with the beds. The what do they call it? What's a technical term for that? Like the bunks?
Oh, the birthing deck.
The birthing rooms. So
Not room, deck.
well,
They'll
deck.
give birth
Okay,
there.
birthing
They
deck.
sleep there. Birthing deck.
They
Yeah.
sleep there. Okay, okay, I get it. So we went down there, and Chris and his team and a couple of other people were there running the portal box. And so they had said, "Oh, hey, it's Jack and Carly. And, you guys introduced me because I had never been there before." And clear as day, we heard someone say, "Hi, Carly." And I was like, "Oh, I've never had that happen before." So that was really cool. And then later on in the night, we were asking questions. I was holding the K2 in my hand, and that was going off. We had awesome K2 activity down there. And then I turned around because I felt someone tap my shoulder, and I look at Jack, and I go, "Why'd you tap my shoulder?" He's like, "I didn't tap your shoulder." And someone was standing between us and saw that Jack hadn't touched me. So I got tapped. That was so cool.
It was pretty cool. It was, and I was hoping that would happen for you because it was a pretty cool thing. Hey, and I see Don is on, and Don, I'm wearing your shirt once again. The Greater Boston Paranormal Associates. Don, I am wearing your shirt as I promised. I think Carly may have hers on, but it's probably underneath her sweatshirt. But
I actually slept it. I slept in it, actually.
Oh, well, then you don't want to wear it. See,
clothes.
she slept in it, Don.
I
so,
slept in it. So, yeah,
so
they're awesome.
Cool. All right. So we got all this stuff, all kinds of cool stuff happening. And it was a great night. We had Don actually had some great interaction on the divining rods, talking to a spirit out there, one of the spirits on the ship. We were trying to figure some things out, and it was good. It was a good night. It was a really good night. A lot of activity, not just even the one place, but a lot of stuff that happened. And I think Chris was it Chris's guy who's putting the video together?
Yes, Nick,
yeah, which we busted on Nick. Nick asked if he could we use your image in our video? Can we use the footage we have of you in our video and stuff? And I said, yeah, sure, Nick. Just $300 fee for having me on your thing. And of course, I was kidding, so I did let him know. I said, just joking. We don't charge anything for that. No, you can, of course, you can have us on. Yeah, it's no problem. But I had to bust his chops a little bit and tell him it was going to be $300. So, and Don DeCristofano says, no comment. I think that's about you sleeping in your shirt. But Ronnie D, I see, is on. Hello, my friends. I can call you. Time for a visit to your favorite location. Yes. I will get there too. I know, Ronnie. I know. We're talking about. I've been down to Tennessee now for a while, so it's going to be a little bit before I think I get back there right now. We haven't been traveling too much. We've only been doing a few little things here and there. We did, as people know, we did help out with a fundraiser for the Wildwood Sanitarium there out in. I can never pronounce it. Salamanca.
Like salamander. Hey, you got it.
Salamanca. Okay, Salamanca, New York. Yeah, out near Hinsdale, and Olean.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. So we did do that. We went out with our friends out here because that was a last minute thing we were able to do, and we got invited by Chris to go to the USS Salem. So we did that, and it was a small group. Again, it was a small group. It was his team and just a few other people and some of their other friends we hadn't seen in a while. So it was cool. And of course, Don and his team who managed the ship out there for the ghost hunts and stuff. So it was all. It was all good. And Don says, it looks good on me. Thank you, Don. I do like your t-shirt. I think it's very cool. And you guys, you can, if you want to go investigate the USS Salem, great place to go to, contact Don. Don Cristofaro. He's right here in the chat. You can message him, and he can help set you up with stuff that's going on there. And Barry Morse breaks out Salamanca. Salamanca. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Barry.
Every time you say it, you gotta
I will
say
still
just
get
like
it wrong at some point. It's just who I am. I don't even pronounce people's names right half the time. So what do you want from me, people? We all have our flaws. That's mine. I can never always pronounce things correctly, but I try hard. I do try. Try. Like I said, we see Chris Sanders is out there. We got a lot of things. Well, a lot of people hanging out today. If you guys have any questions, again, as always, this is a Paranormal Q&A with Jack Kenna and Carly Hall. So anytime you have any questions, just ask us, reach out. Again, we are, I'm just going to hide that. We are live on 3 social media sites now, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And so, check us out on any of those. You can pick and choose now where you want to see us. So I'm going to take that down. I'm going to put up about my books. I'm still planning to have the website training for my paranormal research course that I was holding in Hudson Valley. We'll be back at the colleges again next year, hopefully. But we are going to try to do just some local things. So I'm going to try to keep it to statewide. I mean, I'm going to try to get a group from one state at a time, only because I want to try to still include an investigation, and USS Salem would be a good spot. We don't have a ton of people that we're going to have for this. We'll have up to 8 people. That way, when we do go to an actual site to do the investigation portion, you will be able to socially distance correctly and do everything we need to do, keep everybody safe. But USS Salem would be a good one if we did first one out in the Boston area. For anybody in the Boston area or Massachusetts area, not even just Boston, but Massachusetts, we could do that. And even New York. I mean, if we have some people in New York, they want to travel out to Quincy, Mass for the investigation, that'd be fine. But yeah, we're going to try to be doing this pretty soon, and I will keep everybody informed of that. There'll be an announcement about that once I get it set up. And Teresa Fowler has a question. What are your thoughts on fae creatures? Have you heard of fae creatures?
Yeah.
Carly?
Like fairies.
Oh,
like
all right.
The elementals.
Fairies. Elementals. Oh, okay. I've heard them called different things. I had a feeling that's what it was, but I never heard that particular term before.
Yeah, that's the
well, I've
term.
dealt with elemental spirit. We've dealt with elemental spirits with some cases. As far as, fairies and different things. I mean, anything. Different cultures believe in these things, right? I mean, so they're out there. There's has to be some truth behind the folklores. We do know that, especially in Ireland, Scotland, places like that, fairies are very much believed in, and people will not build houses and things on what they call fairy lines, right, where the fairies travel back and forth. Which I guess this could be along the same thing as ley lines. In a way, maybe they follow the ley lines. It's hard to say. We've come across something like that out at the Hinsdale house, though, where we do believe there's some type of elemental involved. So it's pretty cool. So that's my thoughts on them. Do I believe in them? Yes, I do. I would say I do believe in them, since I've run into cases with them, and I don't believe there's something that are always evil or negative. I do believe there is ways you can coexist with them. They were put on this earth for a reason as well. But you have to be willing to kind of reach out to them and certain things you can do to get along with them. If you know what's happening, that is. So they are of God. I believe they're created by God, so they are of God, and which is why you can't do an exorcism on them. You can't get rid of them through an exorcism because they're of God. So an exorcism won't work. So, and I think that's kind of along the lines of what was taking place at the Hinsdale house. That's my personal opinion on that. You see, Steve White. Oh, he just talks about USS Salem gaining notoriety in the paranormal. It's actually been well known for quite a while, Steve, of those who are in the paranormal. Don will tell you that. Don Christopher will tell you that. It's been a very well known location for a long time within the paranormal community. It's been on some TV shows and stuff like that. But many of us have been investigating there for many years. Don could tell you he's been working out there for 20 years, I believe. So. It's a well-known site, but it's got some activity picking up again, and we had some very interesting activity that night, and I'm very, very happy with it. I haven't even gone through our stuff yet, but I need to go do that. We need to go through our audio and our video because I'm sure we have some stuff. William Maskell says, "Sorry, Mr. Tripp, frequent flyer down the Salem with my team." Well, again, we'll be out there again, and we'll let some people know when we're going. If you'd like to come along and investigate with us when we're out there, we'll let you know. Here's a question, I think, from Bobby Carter. Has there been a location you will not go back to investigate because it was haunted or negative to return to? No, there's not. There's not a location I have been to, even in a residential location, that I would not go back to if asked to go back. I never really ran into anything truly negative. I mean, truly what you call evil, except for the case we did more recently. And even that, we're going back to that location to meet with the family again and talk to them again. So even with that was an actual possession case. We're going back there too, because you especially with families, right, Carly? I mean, you have to go back and keep trying to help them out, make sure they don't slip and go back, and you got to help keep them on track. So there's no place I would never not go back to. Nothing scares me ever that much. I think that's because both Carl and I believe we are truly protected with what we do, and we do things for the right reasons. We don't just go to when I'm talking to spirits wherever we are, we don't instigate them. We don't try to just get them angry to interact with us. I mean, that's not what I do. I talk to them like I talk to any people, right? We both do. We talk to them like human beings because a lot of them once were. And even if it's something elemental, I have respect for that, and I will talk to that. So will Carly.
And there's a difference between not being scared and not underestimating. When we get there, we're not like, oh, we can handle anything. It's like we feel secure with our own faith that we're protected, and we move forward with that, but we never underestimate what we come across.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put this up from Cheryl Brookshire. So cool to hear a disembodied voice this morning, making breakfast, had TV on, cell phone was playing, paranormal video. There are no females on the program. She said, what are you cooking? That's pretty cool, Cheryl. I mean, I wasn't there and everything else, but I will say this. I mean, maybe you did get a disembodied voice. I don't know. But I will tell you this. When you have sometimes multiple things on, like you have your TV on, you have your cell phone going, you're getting sounds from different directions, you can sometimes hear something that really isn't there. It's called it's like an audio feedback, right? And your ears will hear something that's not really being said. I'm not saying you didn't have a disembodied voice, but sometimes when you have multiple devices going, they've even found it with just regular appliances that are humming in the background. They'll create like a white noise effect, and you will hear something that sounds like a voice. but it's not necessarily, and you can actually recreate it. What I would say is try to recreate it. Is what I would say, and go from there. Sorry, I didn't realize I had my computer unplugged. My battery was dying. So,
Oh no.
I just had to plug in my laptop. No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
But that's very interesting. I mean, but always try to debunk things, I guess, is what I'm getting at. See if there's something else, if the actual noise from both the TV and the cell phone could have caused it, things like that. Not putting it down, Cheryl, not at all. It's very possible you actually did have a disembodied voice as well, especially if you know you have something going on in your home. But never investigate your own home. But that's pretty cool. If you do think you hear something like that, actually just answer them. If you want to just like, hey, I'm cooking this, because it could be a family member, it could be something like that. But don't ever like try to investigate or like don't try to do EVP work there. Don't try to do video to capture something. Don't constantly communicate with it. If you hear something once in a while, respond to it just out of respect. But don't constantly encourage it by saying, hey, will you talk to me again? Things like that. That's when you can have some issues. Okay. But very interesting. I'm glad you shared that with us, Cheryl. And Regina says, saw the episode of Paranormal Survivor, Jack, you were working with the pregnant wife and her husband, really intense. Oh, okay. That was the very first show I ever did. What are my thoughts on the accuracy of and it cuts off. Actually, if you're talking about the accuracy of the story, Regina, that was actually the very first show I ever did. It was Paranormal Survivor Season 1. It was episode 6 with that couple. And they actually told the story. The production company did an excellent job of actually telling the real story. I would say that was 90% correct. With what they told. I mean, reenactments, of course, always played up a little bit, but 90% of what you saw in there actually did happen. Okay, so that shows. So I think if that's what you're trying to ask, that's the answer to that question. And that's true with most all of the shows I've done with Our House Media was a production company, and that's true with almost all of the stuff we've done with them. They get the stories for the most part 80 to 90% correct. The rest is played up for TV. We have had a few episodes. They really kind of messed them up, and they heard from me about those. There wasn't many of those. There's about 2 that I really had a hard time with. I did talk to them about it. But the rest, we did quite a few. We did many, and that was on Haunted Case Files, actually. We did many other episodes that I would always say is 80 to 90% correct. So they do a really good job. Sometimes the writers get a little carried away, but for the most part, I've always been happy working with them, and I work with them again. And here's a question from Bob Burnell. I'm going to put this up there. Question for Carly. How can I raise my vibration really hard for me to even picture myself surrounded by white light? That's for you, Carly. It's all yours. I'm sitting back and relaxing now.
Okay.
I've been talking enough.
So when it comes to raising your vibration, it's kind of a process because you have to look at your vibration as low waves and high frequency waves. So low frequency waves tend to be it resembles with negativity. That's kind of like down, sad, depression. And a higher vibration goes along with positivity, happiness, excited, the wavelength. So when it comes to raising your vibration, you really have to focus on a positive mindset. What I like to do in the morning, because it varies, it changes from low to high and negative to positive. Everyone has their bad days. But what I like to do in the morning is kind of do just I don't even know what to call it, but I go into the mirror in the morning and I say 3 things that I like about myself, just to raise my self-confidence up. it really puts me in a better mood, raises my self-confidence, and I'm able to be much happier and much brighter and more excited in a much higher frequency. It also plays along with meditation. You really have to practice being quiet and focusing on being still and focusing on forming that white light. It takes a lot of practice. It doesn't happen in one night. Um, the whole process of grounding and shielding actually really helps if you do it in the morning and in the evening, once in the morning, once in the evening. It takes an average of about 15 to 20 minutes when you first start it out, but once you get going and you get better at focusing on that white light and being able to reaffirm yourself with those positive, you know, um, comments about yourself in the morning, it'll be much easier. It'll take like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So you really have to practice at it. But definitely meditation in the morning and the evening for, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes. It's not much. It doesn't take much time. But, it actually helps you a lot. And especially with those positive affirmations, you're going to find yourself looking at different situations and looking at things with like a glass half full kind of outlook and more of looking to the positive side of things. So it really helps with your everyday activities and overcoming your everyday challenges as well.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
I just busted.
It's a bit loaded question.
No, that was good, Carly. No,
So-
I appreciate that. Yeah, that was and seriously, we do hope that helped you out, Bob Burnell. I joke around sometimes, but we do hope that was helped you answer your question. And Daniel Class, as I see, is here. Hey, Dan, how's it going there? You're one of our favorite people too. He's two of my favorite people. We love you too, there, Dan. Good to see you on. Always glad to have you join us here on the show. And I'm trying to go back. There was another question. Michelle LeBaron, we'd love to investigate with you. I'm sure we can have that happen sometime. I know you're on the West Coast out there. I occasionally do get out that way, and not this year I haven't, but probably next year I'll be back out that way. We have some friends that live out that way in California and Colorado, and I have family living in Colorado actually, and all that. In fact, that reminds me, I have to call my daughter Olivia and see how she's doing out there. We have a couple other questions. The Teresa Fowler was asking because she's a pixie that hangs out at her house. Oh, I'm just going to throw that up there. I mean, pixies, fairies, elemental spirits, while it can appear as a pixie and maybe just some other type of elemental spirit, which pixie is. And I never put anything down because, I'm not there. I don't know. I've never seen any of these myself. Doesn't mean they don't exist, but I have run into elemental spirits that look a little bit different to me. I've run into some very strange looking things out there. So none of them ever look like nice little fairies to me, but look kind of really negative. But that doesn't mean they are. And here was, I did respond to this. I'm going to put it up there because I'll respond to it verbally. Hopefully you got my message though there, Regina. Hi, both of you. Jack, what is your opinion on the ghost radar device that you use in Paranormal Survivor, the one as the words come up? I did kind of answer. I answered this, I think, in the chat. Hopefully that came up. Do you believe the word pop up are ghosts? Regina, yeah, it would depend on the case. Like the case on you saw maybe Paranormal Survivor, Haunted Case Files. All those cases, the stuff we presented is not the words that came up, the things that interacted, things that happened. Definitely were interaction with spirit. Something people need to know, and I've said this many, many times, but I've been using the ghost radar device for at least 8 to 9 years now. Okay. For the first 5 years of just using it, I never reported anything I got out of it as evidence of anything. I just collected data and compared it all, not just from the ghost radar, but also did I get EVPs at the same time? Did something else, somebody have a personal experience at the same time? Did we capture something on video? We look at all those things, we add it all up, and did the responses make sense to the location, all right, that we were investigating? Did we get proper names that came through that related to the location? Did we get different things come through that related to the case? And it doesn't always happen, but very often it does. Once you start communicating with spirit, it does work, and you have to use it properly. It's actually the algorithm, the program that it's designed around works very similar to the Ovilus. Okay, it's very similar to that, and you have to make sure the phone is in airplane mode. Has to be in airplane mode, or you're going to get false readings from it all the time. So it has to be in airplane mode. You have to turn it on and give it at least 10 minutes to just run through its program. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes for it to run through its program. Consider it a warm-up period. Okay, and then it should go completely silent. And you should get nothing through it ever. Nothing should ever come through it, realistically. But when I go to a location, I will explain to the spirits, this is what it is. This is how it works. We can see you as energy blips, and there's 3 different types of energy blips. There's a blue colored one, yellow or greenish colored one, and red. And blue is low energy. This is all the manufacturer tell you. Blue is indication of low energy. Right? Yellow is medium energy and red is high energy. And that doesn't mean it's a ghost, but it means there's energy going on around you. The words that come through, a lot of times we'll start getting words as we start asking questions. Okay, and again, this is after the 10-minute warm-up period. Thing is going quiet, we'll start asking questions. Sometimes we don't get any answers. Sometimes we get none. Sometimes we'll just get blips. And I will also tell the spirit that's there that, hey, if you want to communicate through those energy blips, you can give me 2 blips for yes and 1 for no. All right, or the opposite, or I say two for yes and 1 for no. Just depends on how I want to say it that day. And I will look for consistency, just like a K2 hit. All right, make the K2 flash for yes. All right. You can do that, and you can start to see that you're seemingly having communication. It doesn't necessarily mean you absolutely are. You have to come back from your investigation, review all your data, review your EVP, review your audio for EVPs, review your video for any video evidence or even EVP evidence. And review your ghost radar stuff, which the app saves all the words that have been spoken, and it gives the time that they were spoken. So you can sync it up. Maybe you caught an EVP at the same time you had a word come through. They may not be the exact same thing, but they may be very similar and could indicate what's going on. So again, you just got to look at it. But it does give you, the reason I like using the ghost radar is as I do seem to be getting interaction with it, whether it's 1 blip for yes or 2 for no in regards to questions, or whether I get words start to come through and they seem to answer a question, it allows me to follow a train of thought of questioning, right, of what I'm talking about. They seem to react to questions about the location. I'm not just going to suddenly say, well, what's your favorite color? I'm going to keep asking them questions about the location that they seem to keep responding to. Like, oh, do you like the color of the room? They've painted it now. Do you have a problem with what they're working on the house? Or, maybe it's something about their past. One question I always like to ask is there something you would like to talk about to the spirit? Is there something you would like to talk about? Is there something that's important to you that you would like to tell us? And we look for responses to that. So that's how I kind of use the Ghost Radar device. It's been very successful for me in using it that way. And I think Carly would even attest to that herself from what she's seen from it. You got to remember, I've been using this thing for 9 years. First 5, I only ever collected data from it and compared it to other things. And now I have confidence in it that, yes, it does work. And one of the most skeptical people I ever had, Ellen McNeil, who's on our founder of our team, Spirits in New England, she's one of the most skeptical people ever. She's now kind of Yeah. This thing actually, she's watched it and seen it over the years, and she believes in it. She doesn't always use it herself, uh, but she trusts what we get out of it when we're doing investigations now. So that was a long answer to kind of a short question. Um, and I guess that's my stance on that, and where I'm coming from on it. And I do actually talk about it in my course, the Ghost Radar device, and I actually talk about that and other types of things.
The same goes
And
for
let's
any other app
see.
too.
Peter Willis has a question, right? I think he has a question for you. What are you going to say, Carly? Go ahead.
Oh, just like same goes for any other app. I mean, spirit can interact however they want. So phone apps provide energy and they manipulate energy. So
Yes,
you
it's
really
another
think
way for
about
them
it,
to manipulate
it
an
is
electronic device.
legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. You got to use it correctly, though. And I don't always assume I'm really talking to a spirit, but it allows you, if you seem to be getting responses, to follow a train of thought of what you're asking or what you're talking about, instead of getting totally off track. If they seem to keep giving you responses to whatever you're talking about, stay on that train of thought and stay on that track, and you might get more interaction. You might see interaction on a K2 or a millimeter at the same time. So you got to kind of go with that. Peter Willis, I'm putting up his question. He says, talk about vibration. I've seen chanting used, and it seemed to bring ghosts through into a room where we heard audible to the ear. Do you think high frequency shamanic drumming in the same way of chanting could give energy to spirit? Shaman used it to contact the spirit, so I was thinking, what's both your takes? Mine is yes. I mean, we know that different frequencies by different types of even not just different types of religious beliefs, different types of religions. They use different things to communicate to the spirit or to the gods or things like that. But yes, drumming is one. Yes, um, that is a way to communicate, to send out those vibrations, and they're soothing, more positive vibrations. Same thing with the like Carly, what the what you call it? Is it the Hindus that use the bowl?
The Tibetan singing bowls.
Tibetan, yeah.
I
They
was gonna
use the
touch on
bowl
that.
with to put out the sound vibration, which can actually drive away negative spirit too. Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can draw spirit with it too. So Peter, yeah, I mean, you can try anything. It's good to think outside the box. Try these different things and see if it brings in spirit communication. We even sometimes use music. I mean, just music to try to communicate and get spirit interaction. And sometimes that works, especially here in the United States, where, you know, uh, a lot of spirits connect with music, and the music of their times. That's been used very often. So, yeah. And, that's my take. What about you, Carly? What do you think? You got more to say than
Yeah.
what you
Well,
did.
no, the energy is vibrations. Like that is what energy is. Whether it's from sound, heat, light, that is vibration. So in a wavelength of sorts. And when it comes to shamanic drumming, actually, I've had a Reiki session done where someone used shamanic drumming, and you can actually feel it. It's used as a cleansing. It's the intent of the drumming. And so, actually, with the Tibetan singing bowls, we actually have one here that's also used for cleansing. You basically put out a frequency to realign the frequency of the room, or cleanse the energy of the room. So you're replacing the low frequency with the high frequency, and that's going to change the complete energy of the room. Commonly, Tibetan singing bowls actually have the wavelength that's actually associated with the color green, which is also known as life.
Ah, there you go.
Interesting fun fact.
Yeah, and hello to our friend Keith Bailey. We did not get to see your show tonight, Keith. I saw Bob Burnell said it was a great show. It's always a great show. Sam and Keith always have a great show on her. So even though we don't always get to see it because we're kind of getting prepared for our own, that is. We need to watch some of them in the reruns, so to speak. Yeah. Keith is a good guy. He's a good friend of ours. We love him. Sam is as well. And it's all good stuff. I see. Regina Bova put in fascinating. Thank you, Jack. I'm going to rewatch the show tomorrow and take notes. Awesome. No, you're very welcome. I don't know how many good notes you could take off the darn shows. They don't show you half. I mean, it's 15 minutes of what was about 6 months of really investigating, but you can take notes from it. You want to get better notes? Buy my book, Paranormal Research. It's actually a good reference book. I mean, I'm not just saying that. If people have found it's a good reference book for that type of stuff, any type of equipment. I kept it to the basics. So, yeah, I'm not just, it's my book. So of course, I guess I'm going to say nice things about it, but, but I have heard from other people. You can ask, our friend, Carl, on here, and didn't see Bob Maloney come on tonight, but you could always ask any of them, or any of the ones that if you've got the book already, just check through it. It talks about ghost radar and stuff in there. And Peter Willis, you're very welcome for our replies. We try to answer you guys' questions as best we can. We don't know everything, and there is some people who are on here as in our guests and stuff that know some things as well. So don't be afraid, as we always say, reach out to each other as well. And if you see somebody has a question that we missed, don't be afraid to answer it. If you did ask a question and we missed it, re-point it out to us. We will try to catch it. Carly on YouTube, Jibber Nibber says, Carly is gorgeous.
Oh,
so you know you're gorgeous. But we knew that about you. I'm just putting it up there. And Carly says, thank you, Jibber. I'm sure she does. She's just too embarrassed right now to
No, I said thank you.
No, did you? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So, yes. Oh, there's Bob Maloney. He says, I'm here. Okay. All right. I didn't see you on there tonight. Now.
He still picks up your book now and then.
Yeah. Yeah. He was telling me that the other day when we saw them. And Carl Mitchell. See, great book. Yeah. They took our class at Hudson Valley, and they tell me they really enjoyed it, and all the people that did, they say they get some. They enjoy the book. They still look back at it, and that was kind of what it was created for. Was some basic, maybe a little bit more than basics, but basic paranormal investigating from my perspective, which is, what type of equipment should you start with? If you're building a team, what should you look for when you're putting your team together? What skills and stuff? You got to go with people's skills. Just because the team founder does not necessarily have to be the team leader on the investigations. Sometimes somebody else is a better team leader. Spirits found that out. They made me the team leader, and I was the last guy to be brought on a team. So I'm basically just was considered like the tech guy. As a matter of fact, that's what they called me for a while, tech guy. But they always let me lead the team on the investigations. When you're building a team, when you're doing all this stuff, put your egos aside. Yes, you are the team founder. Go by the skills that your people on your team have. Okay, team founder will always make a lot of the decisions for the team as a whole, but they will also listen to the rest of the team members about how to approach things or how to do things. Always keep an open mind. A good team leader keeps an open mind, listens to their people, and can make decisions from there. They will also decide, hey, this person has better skills at managing teams and running teams than I do, because I never managed a team, but that person managed teams where they work. So maybe we'll try them as a team leader on the investigations to manage everybody and make sure everything goes smoothly. That's how it fell in for me, because that's what I did. I put teams together and I managed teams for my work. So that's why I ended up in that role. Other person would work more with the client because they were much better at personal communication with individuals. Or there might be a couple people that are good at that, because sometimes you have more than one person talk to the the clients, or even to the people where you're going to investigate, the locations you're going to investigate. They manage setting it up and doing the reservations if you're going to some of these places, and they're much better at it. And then you have somebody who manages your tech because they're a good tech person, and so on and so on. And that's what that book partially talks about. Also talks about a lot of other things, how to communicate with spirit, how we communicate with spirit, which is on a friendly and respectful way, and different types of questions to ask, to think outside the box, rather than just this typical canned questions you see a lot on the TV shows. And Barry Martz has a question for me, so I'm going to... Regina says she'll buy the book. Don't worry, Regina, we'll sit... but yes, it's always good to take notes for different things. I know what you're talking about, Regina. Anyways, so Barry, Jack, do you remember if you introduced Ghost Radar to all of us during your visit with Carly and Ellen? Included at the Palmyra Historical Building back in May of 2018. I believe you talked about it, a tool. We did use it there. And I don't remember if because kind of everybody broke up into different groups and stuff after I tried to get with everybody. I'm not sure if we did talk about it, I think, during the lecture we gave. I probably said the same things I was saying now. But we did use it during the investigation, but we didn't get to investigate with everybody with it. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. A lot of groups broke up into different things, different paths. But I did use it there, and I know some people got to see me using it. And again, sometimes it works. We did have some interesting results on it there. And I had some people come up to me and ask me about it, Barry. So I do remember that. So hopefully that answers that question. Bob Burnell, we have an upcoming investigation at the Oliver House. Oh, in Middleborough. Yes, Oliver House, Grace Place. Actually, that's where Carly became a member of Spirits of New England. I thought I heard you say on an earlier time you had been there. Yes. Did you find the Wampanoag are present there, as well as other? No, I did not. We did not kind of experience anything with the Wampanoag tribe. We seemed to interact more with just the spirits, a couple of spirits that lived in the home. Bob, that's what we ran into, especially the one, she took care of the kids. She was French, right? The French.
There was, yes. There was one also in the basement that I remember wanted.
There was a male spirit in the basement, right?
Yeah, it was like a boy, I think.
Yeah, a teenager or something like that. We ran into that, but nothing to do with the Native Americans. I don't think we kind of focused on that. We were trying to talk to the spirits in there. But in the children's room, it was supposedly the spirit of the woman that took care of the children.
Yes.
She spoke French. I actually started speaking a little French, and we had a lot of activity with that. She was communicating through the little, we call them the cat balls, that they can, if you something touches it, it'll make them go off. Funny thing about that was they had a couple of those, but they had one that was sitting up on top of this foam. It's like the foam things the kids have. I don't know, the little foam whatever. Anyways, it was sitting on top of that, and it wasn't going off at all until we started talking, and I started speaking a little bit of French. All of a sudden, it started interacting. It started going off. And continuing the response to questions, or the reaction to me speaking French. I knew a couple things, not much. I don't know much, but knew a couple things in French, like "Comment allez-vous?" How are you? Little things like that, and we had interaction, so it went really well. So. And again, that's up in what was a children's room, and there's a mural.
We were also running an SP7 too, and you got some French words through there.
We did. We got some. That's right. We got somebody
was running the SP7. The idea to speak French.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. So yeah,
they sounded like they were talking to each other, like the female and the male.
It did at one point.
Do you remember?
Yeah. It did at one point. That's right. So try that up there, but try to communicate with it. But we didn't have any communication with the Native Americans over there.
Yeah, I had a unique experience with Sarah out by the tree that they thought someone was hung at,
Oh yeah,
There was
yeah.
a point where we were using the divining rods, and a spirit, I think it was a boy, wanted us to go out, just Sarah and I, to go outside and by ourselves by this tree, and we were both like, okay, very cautious. But while we were asking questions with the divining rods, I actually heard a little boy say "mommy" over by the tree. Sarah never heard it, and it was never caught on the recorder, and I was so disappointed, but I heard it clear as day.
Yeah, that's right. And you guys saw the
Yeah,
shadow figure too, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
said
yeah,
that,
yeah,
right?
in the
Yeah.
basement.
Well, no, you
And there
guys saw
was
it down
a
the woods.
yes, yeah, in the bushes. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's
saw a
right.
shadow figure
So
moving through.
maybe that was more Native American-ish in that
It could have been.
aspect.
I personally didn't experience anything like that, but we can't say that we did experience anything Native American.
Yeah,
But we did have
we're not
communication
sure.
with spirit there. That is definitely.
Yes.
And Steve White, I threw this up because, hey, Jack and Carly, when you were in Gettysburg last time, did you get to witness the legendary top hat of Howie Odell? Yes, we did. We actually ran into the top hat. I think
That
it
was
has its own
funny.
personality too. We also
I
ran
was
into
looking at
Howie.
yeah. I was looking at him in the parking lot, and the sun was in my eyes, and the only way I recognized him was because I saw the outline of the top hat, and I was like, "Oh, Howie!"
Howie. Yeah, it's Howie. Howie and
Like, look at him. Who
his
is
top hat.
that?
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Howie
funny.
is a great guy. Yes, Steve, we ran into him, and that was just a few weeks ago, right? We were just down there a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. You know, of course, Dan was down there too. There was a few of us that went down there. Uh, Gettysburg Bash had gotten canceled, but we all decided to go down and keep our reservations, go down and hang out. And we wandered around the town, and we saw quite a few different things, and it was funny. Yeah, Steve sees he's laughing out loud there. Um, yeah, I do think that hat has its own personality for sure. You know, it's its own little being there, Steve. But
Yeah.
I think Howie's good with that too. Yeah,
Oh
he's
yeah.
definitely a steampunk guy. Yeah, definitely steampunk. I love it. I love
He
it.
pulls it off really well.
He does. He does. Yeah,
Yeah.
that hat and him are one. That's what I would
Yeah.
say about that.
That was a good time though. We don't really get the opportunity to go down and just like learn the history of the place and really get to take it all in. I think that was really cool. And we all did our own thing, and we occasionally met up with each other when we did. And when we did, we hung out. It was cool.
Yeah. And Bob, yeah, no problem. Bob Burnell, no problem. Yeah, try to communicate with them. We just didn't. It didn't cross my mind at the time. It was the first time I'd been there at the Oliver House. But yeah, that'd be a good idea, especially out in the backwoods area and stuff. Yes, you're right. The river's right there. It's not very far. But yeah, try that. And Cheryl says, "So good to see you guys there at Gettysburg." Yeah, it's always great to see everybody. You too, Cheryl.
Oh yeah.
We'll be back down again. Actually, we're going to be right now. We have plans to just go back down for another visit, as long as Steve and Pam are doing okay. We're going to go down to the Lookout House and stay for a long weekend. So we will let some of you know when we're going to be down there, and if you want to, maybe come and visit or get together and visit, we will do that while we're down there. Love Gettysburg. Love the area.
Oh yeah.
Word is, the president might give his acceptance speech down in Gettysburg. I just heard that today for his well, he's nominated anyway, but he might go down there to give it. I don't want to go down there when he's down there because that would be just a madhouse down there. But always great to go down and see everybody. We love Gettysburg. We'll be going back. Here's another question. Do you think often poltergeist activity is actually elemental spirit at work, not what we might think as poltergeist? Quite a few non-human possibilities. Peter, actually, what I've run into more is that it's being created. That kind of activity is typically being created by a and not just picking out people, but a female teenager in the home, because of they're going through a lot. They're going through a change in puberty. They've got a lot of energy they're putting out, and females do have just a ton of energy they put out, and they can actually, and I've seen it many times in many cases, they can cause things to move. Without even thinking about it. I mean, they're not consciously trying to make things move, but it happens. Carly has had it happen with her own thoughts, just because she had. Well, you tell it,
Had it happen
Carly.
at work.
What happened at work?
Yeah. So I was going through a time where something really personal happened. I'm not going to get into it, but at the time I was feeling very betrayed and very angry and very upset and confused. And I work in an OR, and I scrub in during the cases. My job is to set up the table and hand the instruments to the doctor and make sure the field is sterile throughout the case. And so I was doing an endo, like a carpal tunnel with the scope and the blade. And so I had this big monitor that was like hundreds of pounds on wheels with all the equipment that we plug into next to my table. Then I had my table right out in front of me, and then I had laying out right next to me was the sterile field. And so I was passing instruments, and I had wires draped across my table that plugged into the machine. And so I'm thinking about what happened, because it literally was like, you were in Kentucky when it happened. You weren't even back yet.
Tennessee.
And there was a couple, yeah, Tennessee. In a couple days after this happened, so it was pretty fresh. And I was thinking about it, and I got really angry, and I was like, how could they do that to me? Like, that was horrible. And all of a sudden, and my friend, who's also a medium, she can, support this. She didn't see any spirits in the room, and she didn't sense any in the room. Normally you can. And the thing just starts rolling on its own down the room, and the room's not tilted. These are very straight rooms. And all the doctors, the surgeons turn around. My the people in the room turn around. They're like, "What the hell?" And it starts rolling on its own. And I look and I go, "Knock it off!" And it stops dead in its tracks. Like, you can't stop that momentum dead in its tracks, right? And I look in the window, and my friend's looking in. She's like, "Oh my gosh!" We were talking about it after. She's like, "There was no one in that room. That was you. That had to be you." She's like, "What were you thinking about?" I'm like, "Well, I was getting really angry because I was thinking about what happened." And she goes, "You did that. That was you pushed that with your mind." I'm like, man, life would be so much easier if you could control it. Like, can you imagine, like, using the force to just be like, bring things to you, or like push things, or push a light switch? It would be so much nicer if you like could control it, but you can't control it, sadly. So yes, it can be very powerful, and it's typically female teenagers, also mothers going through menopause. It can also happen to males who are very emotional.
Yep.
You can fix this. If this is happening to you, you can fix this by grounding and shielding, so that you control your energy instead of having it fly all over the place. You keep it in a contained space within your white light. And also, with female teenagers, it's commonly found that when they go to sleep, they have items missing in their room, and they can find it in different places. They actually can, so if you put your glasses down, this would happen all the time. I'd put my glasses down on a nightstand, and I'd wake up in the morning, and they'd be across my room by the door, or under my bed, and this was before I had my haunting. So, like, I would be doing that in my sleep, because you just can't control it. So, yes.
Right. It's absolutely
It's
true.
called PKing, psychokinetic.
Yes. Yeah.
Psychokinesis.
Psychokinesis, PKing. Yep. So hopefully that answered that question. That other things can't do those things as well, like elemental spirits, things like that. That can happen too. But I've seen it more often with teenagers and in cases like that. Demonic spirits can also definitely move things in cases, those type of cases. But just because things are moving on a case doesn't mean it's demonic either.
Right.
You got to be careful. It takes a long time to figure out if you actually have a demonic case or not, or what is actually causing the poltergeist type activity. And Clortho K says, Jack, you said never investigate your own haunting. Yeah, never investigate. Yes, true. My friend did that several years ago and got a pretty seems scary to me, he says, response. Can you elaborate the danger in that? Yes, Clortho, not a problem. Again, people say, well, why can't I investigate my own home? Well, And what's the difference between me investigating and you coming to investigate it? Well, it's about intent. What's your intent of investigating your own home? You just want to investigate and talk to it. And now, once you start talking to these things, they're going to want to keep talking. They know you live there. They're going to keep talking, and and if you just stop, you get a few answers. Oh, I'm cool. I talked to. It may not want to stop, and it's going to start doing things to try to communicate. You got to remember, these spirits sometimes can be desperate. All right, they can be desperate for somebody to help them, to communicate to them, and think of it like a person drowning. They're screaming for help, but when you go out to help them, they're going to try to push you down in order for them to stay on top to be able to breathe. Right, so they're going to hurt you, they're going to scratch you, they're going to drag you, they're going to try to harm you, not meaning to, but just because they're desperate for somebody to hear them and somebody to help them sometimes. And so even though you stop the communication, they're going to keep at it, right? And you never know what you're talking to either. The other thing is you never know what you're talking to. You can decide, you may have no activity in your home, and you may decide, oh, I see this on TV. I'm going to see if there's a ghost in my house. You start opening some type of communication, whether through a K2 device or just an audio recorder or something. Once you open that communication, you start trying to talk to someone. You don't know where it's coming in from. You may have had nothing in your home, but now you've called out to spirit to come and talk to you. It could come from down the road. It could come from a mile away. We've had that happen on investigations too. A spirit that was unrelated to the location that came, they died a mile away, and they actually came to our location to try to talk to us. We don't know how it works out there, right? We don't know if there's a limitation on distance for them. It's not a physical world for them. Remember this. So you don't know where you're calling it in from. You don't know what you're talking to, so you can open that up. When we come in, it's because we're asked to come in. All right. When we do private client locations, residential locations, we're asked to come in to help. Our intent is to just try to find out what's going on for the person that asked us and try to help them resolve it. My whole purpose is not to make communication continue. It's to try to stop that communication, bring it to an end peacefully and with our team, and try to come to a resolution so that this spirit is no longer harming that person or antagonizing that person but once you open that communication in your own home, you may not be able to get it to stop, especially if you don't know what you're doing. If you're not, I mean, it took us years to learn what we've learned, and we learned from other professionals. I studied under, our team went to all the different courses and stuff that Jason and Grant gave. We learned a lot from them. They did a lot of residential stuff, so that's what we wanted to do. We learned from them, right? If you want to call it the ghost hunter guys, but it was TAPS, right? So we learned a lot about what we knew from them, and then we also reached out to other people who had been involved in the paranormal for a very long time. We just didn't start going out places and just start asking questions because of what we saw on TV. We went to their courses. We went and learned from them, asked them questions, not just about equipment, but communicating with spirit and how to do that. So, we've learned a lot, and Carly's, learned from us and our team because we're more seasoned, we're more experienced. So she's learning from our team and from us. Plus, she's had her own experiences with stuff over her 10 years of a demonic haunting she dealt with, and a spirit guide that came to her that helped her, which we do believe was something angelic in nature, that helped her. So, there's all these things. You don't want to just start checking out your own home, or if you do have some type of negative haunting going on, you want somebody who knows what they're doing to come in and try to figure it out for you. Again, it's all about intent, and you want the right people to come in. There's some teams out there that are new, and they're just trying to collect evidence. They'll go to any place to collect evidence, which I think is wrong. And then they'll say, oh, yeah, here's what we caught. Here's what we found. Okay, you're on your own. You don't want that. If you're having problems, you want somebody to come in that knows what they're doing, team that knows what they're doing, that can actually help you. But do not investigate your own home. Even seasoned investigators have run into problems where they thought they could handle a haunting that was going on in their own home, and end up having to reach out to their to the paranormal community for help with resolving it. Once you're the one who's afflicted, you can't really resolve it. It's like trying to cure yourself of I don't want to say cancer, but let's say you're trying to cure yourself of um, coronavirus, or you're trying to cure yourself of cancer, or you're trying to cure yourself of a very intense disease. All right, common cold. All right, you can take care of that. Which common cold they would relate to. All right, you're living in a house that has activity. Nothing's ever really happened. Nothing's ever really going on, and you may just speak to those spirits once in a while. You hear somebody say something, you say, yeah, okay, whatever. It could be a family member, something like that. But you're not investigating your own home. You're not pulling out equipment and trying to create communication. All right. If you have a bad haunting like that, reach out to a paranormal team that can help you, that can truly help you resolve what's going on. Never investigate your own home, because you don't know what you're asking to come in. You don't know what you're talking to. And I've said that before on TV. One of the questions they ask you is, what scares you the most about the paranormal? I said, it's because you never know what you're really talking to. And that's truth. When we go into a location, we don't really know what we're talking to. We have to figure that out. It takes time to figure that out. What are we really talking to? It's dangerous. It can be dangerous. And we've seen it. Everything from simple things that aren't dangerous to things that are extremely dangerous with actual demonic entities. In case of a possession case. So hopefully, Clortho, that I may have gotten across what you were hoping I would. Just please do not ever investigate your own home. If you think you have a haunting going on, reach out for help, please, from some group that knows what they're doing. And Peter Willis puts out, the dangers surrounding a Ouija board, in your own words, how is that different than using automatic writing, planchette, doing table tipping, ITC, blah, blah. Peter, there is no difference. There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. It's all spirit communication. It's all about your intent and what your intent is when you're using these different things and these devices. What is your intent of using it? Do you just want to have fun and, I'm going to get a spirit to come through? You never know what's coming through. There's no difference between a Ouija board, asking questions through a Ouija board, and asking questions through a K2. It's a session. It's a spirit communication session. I don't care what you're using. Right? I don't care if it's a ghost radar. You need to be respectful about what you're doing. You need to prepare yourself spiritually before you investigate, which means ask for protection from whatever your belief system is. You need to be respectful when you start that communication, and you need to let that spirit, if you are seeming that communication, know that this session is over. You're closing the conversation. You're not allowed to, you need to go back to where you are, and you need to shut it down and let them know it's not okay to follow you home and all that good stuff. And do prayer again for whatever your belief system is. Use prayer again for protection, and we like to use a whole white light technique, surrounding yourself in white light, to keep anything negative from attaching itself to you. You need to do these things because it's all about intent. And again, there is no difference to me between using a Ouija board or using a K2, or even just using running a digital recorder and asking questions. You're talking to spirit. It's all an open session, right? So that's my perspective on it. Carly, how about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's really no different either, even with the Estes method, with the spirit box, when you're asking questions in another room and getting a response from the person listening to the other room. You're channeling and communicating, and you're leaving yourself open to be receptive for attachments or anything really, and you really don't know what you're talking to. They could give you a name, but they can lie. Doesn't matter. What's it to them? You know what I mean? And with, oh gosh, there was one other thing I was going to say, but I think it just completely left. Oh, um, completely forgot about what else I was going to say. All right.
Think about it.
Yeah, I will.
Get back to
I
that.
looked
Shelley,
at Shelley. I looked at Shelley's question. And
do you think some visions of spirits could be caused by someone dream walking? Yes, very possible. But if you're dream walking, what I think my sister Michelle means by that is you're kind of having an out of body experience. You're walking outside yourself. You're walking through potentially the spirit realm. Okay, so yeah, you can run into spirit that will have you'll either have a vision of this spirit and it'll seem very real, very like you're really there. They may be talking to you, and that's not necessarily a vision as much as it is a visitation. Okay, let's call it that. It's not just a dream; it's you're getting a visitation, and yeah, you can be someplace else. I mean, that's almost sometimes like deja vu. You dream of a location; it seems very real, very everything, and then a month or a year later, you may actually visit that location and go, "Wow, I've been here before," and you've never been there, but you were there in your excuse me, in your dream, so to speak, which was actually an out of body experience. So I hope that answers my sister's
I did
question.
that with your house, remember?
Yeah, Carly
I
actually
never.
had a visitation
Yeah.
of my home. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and I was dead inside my
That was
house.
freaky. Oh, shush. We'll not bring that up.
She
But I do
actually,
remember what I was
before
going to
she was
say.
ever came to my house, she had a visit. Well, you can explain that.
Yeah, well, yeah. And we had an interpretation of what that was about, which meant a completely different thing than what it was, displayed as. But when I had the dream, it was a series of dreams where, yes, Jack did die in the dreams, but they were death is typically interpreted as new beginnings. So it's not the dark, dreary, negative, that especially in tarot cards, that you kind of assume it is. It's more of new beginnings, death of the old and the birth of the new. So what had happened was in one of the dreams, I had a dream where I was walking through his house and I discovered him completely mauled on the. He was messed up, but anyway, he was dead. And later on, when I called him, it had disturbed me so much that I called him and described the house to him, and it turned out that it was pretty, like, I would say spot on to what your house was, except with minute details like the color of the wallpaper. Um, but that was pretty freaky when I went to your house the first time. And I saw
Recognize.
that. I was like, oh. And you hadn't even told me that I described your house.
No, there's
But
no
I do
reason
want
to
to
tell you about the house. Yeah.
yeah, I do remember what I was going to say about the Ouija boards.
Yeah,
If you guys do really want to know how to properly do a spirit board or Ouija board session, they actually do training over in Lilydale, where in places do train you to properly and safely use Ouija boards.
Correct.
And spirit boards.
Yep. There's certain ways to do it that is safe.
Yes.
And Holly brings up a good point. You never know what you're getting when you buy used boards. This is true, Holly.
Absolutely.
Because I will tell you right now, most people don't even know what it means to close a session. When I've run into people who have Ouija boards and they're having problems in their homes, I said, "Well, did you close the session?" They go, "What? Did you say goodbye?" Well, no. Oh, so you left that portal open.
You just pack it back in the box and
yes, and I've had it happen in my own home where my stepdaughter at the time, I didn't know it. She was using Ouija boards to try to connect to her deceased grandparents, and she didn't know what a close a session meant. She didn't know what that meant. I had all of a sudden I noticed little shadow figures running around my house, and I found a Ouija board, and then I found another, and then I found another. And it's like, oh shit. And I asked her, they were all my one stepdaughters. I said, did you been using these? She's, yeah. I'm trying to contact my deceased grandparents. Like, did you ever close a session? What? Say goodbye, close the session. You supposed to do that? Oh my God. So, but if you do get a used board, all right, you can still close the session. Okay. You can check the board for a portal. All right. Even if not, even if you don't know how to do that, I mean, there's ways to do that. I'm not going to explain it too much here, but there's ways to check for that. But you can close a session, a general session, say a prayer and say, any session that is open on this board, I hereby close it. Any spirit that came through this board to communicate, you're to go back. And you can then move the pochette to goodbye, say, I'm officially closing this session, and use whatever your faith is to say a prayer. You can also sage. I use Palo Santo to clear the board of any negative energies, things like that. If you really want to and you never want it to be used again, you can bless the board after you've closed the session, after you've sent whatever back through it. You can bless the board and it'll never be able to be used again. You won't be able to open a session with it ever again because you're sealing it in the name of your higher power, God, whatever it is you believe in. You're having that deity seal the board for you, realistically, the highest power that you can draw upon to close and seal that board so it can never be used again. So that's a way to protect it. I actually have one that was from that possession case, and I did exactly that with it. I actually sealed it, closed the session because it was still open at the client's home. Tried to send whatever was back through it, but it was a bit late for that. This person was already possessed at that time. Tried to send it back anyways. Tried to send it back. Closed it, sealed it, blessed it, and the board was totally inactive. It's still inactive, but it is attached to a demonic possession case. So it's in my back hallway. Still,
Yeah.
although nothing's ever happened with it, I still
with
don't
the
wanna-
other closed sealed Ouija boards that we have.
Well, no, the other one is brand new. Somebody sent that to Ellen, and Ellen gave it to me. That's brand new. The only other one I have in the house is the one I've had since we were kids for years and years, and I did close that one. I didn't
I thought
seal
the
it.
other one was sealed too.
No. This is still brand new in the package. It's never been opened. That was a Bob's board. I think they call it Bob's board. Yeah. Now that's never even been opened. That's still in the packaging that came in. So that's a brand new board, never been used. If somebody wants that, let me know. Maybe we can give it away to somebody. I will not give the other one away to anybody.
Steve Brott might like it.
Steve, yeah, I think he has one already, but I asked him about it.
Okay.
But if maybe we can auction it off or something like that. If somebody really wants it, we can give the money to Autism Society or something. Don't use it.
I'm not going to use it. No.
No, not you. I'm talking to everybody who gets it. Don't use it. Just hang on to it. I'll
yeah.
sign the outside of it. I'll sign the outside of the packaging. That way you can't open it. Otherwise, you ruin it. You ruin the autograph. And I'll throw this back up because Clortho said we did answer his question. The person, it is a person that's haunted, not a home. That's even worse. If you're trying to communicate to something that's attached to you, that's not really a good idea. You're better off trying to get rid of that attachment. After you figure out what
that person that's affected has to want help.
Yes,
you can't say you have to help them. They have to want the help, or else we can't help them. Like, we've had people who we've helped for a long time, and they finally say, like, I don't think you can help me. And when we're trying, they need to help themselves, and we're trying to convince them, like, you need to be an active participant in resolving your own haunting, like you say. They don't want to make a life changes, and they go, well, I don't think you can help me. Well, now we can't, because you just disarmed us, because you don't think we can help you and you don't want the help from us. So the person affected has to want our help.
Right. And Howie Odell has a question. So here's a good one. How should one's board be stored properly? Send it to John Zaffis. Let him store it in his museum.
Yes.
No, Howie, I'm only kidding. Howie, actually, I don't use boards. I don't keep them around. I have a couple because of what I've been through. I need to ask that question myself. I mean, to me, I can store it in a closet or whatever. I don't use it. I don't intend to ever use it. But that's a good question, actually. Reach out to Tim Shaw. Tim Shaw is very well versed in Ouija boards and the use of Ouija boards and all that. Howie, I would actually reach out to Tim Shaw and ask him that question, or maybe there is somebody else here within the group that knows how to do that. I've never. I mean, the way I have the other ones stored right now, they're just sitting in a location outside in my back hall. And I should probably just move them into the closet in the house and store them there. You definitely, the biggest thing for that is just make sure you've closed the session on the board before you store it away. Don't just like, oh, I'm done talking, close it up and put it away. You've left the whole portal session, the spirit session open. Right? I mean, if you're trying to take care of a board, it's a good board. You use it a lot, and you know how to properly use it. Then store it, as you know, in a cool, dry environment, so that it won't get ruined by humidity or things like that. It's like storing anything else you want to keep for a long time. But make sure the biggest thing about using a Ouija board is how to begin a session, which is usually through prayer, only allowing anything positive to come through. Ending the session once you're done, telling any spirit that came through, communication is done, please go back through the portal, blah, 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 all that. And then close the session, say goodbye, end the session, and then use prayer at the end to make sure that the board is properly sealed and no more communication is allowed through, nothing negative can come through. And then put it back in its box with all your stuff and store it in a good location where for the next time you're going to use it. If you're going to use them that way. I just don't like using them. They're really, again, I don't know why, because there is no difference between using a Ouija board and using anything else, right? It's a spirit session. So I should be just as afraid of my K2s as I am of Ouija board. But I had a bad experience as a kid with Ouija board, so that's why I think I really don't like them. If I had a bad experience with a K2, I probably wouldn't use those. But that's not what happened. A bad experience with it, and some of the people saw that on My Paranormal Nightmare, my story about that. So. Yeah, but Tim Shaw, if you really want to know proper storage, proper use, I think Tim Shaw would be the guy to reach out to. I think if you said, hey, Tim, Jack Kenna told me to reach out to you, ask you about how to store a Ouija board or how to use it properly and stuff like that. He probably would get mad at me, and then he'd tell you how to do it. He'd probably say, Kenna, stop sending people my way. Yeah. But Tim Shaw is well versed in it. That's why I say Tim. I know that for a fact. Okay. Peter Willis. Hey, Peter, you got a lot of good questions, man. You're really racking my brain tonight. And Carly's. Do you think dimensions can mix up? For example, time slips, or could past lives for the moment interact with us? Also, on the same kind of subject, could our own or someone we know in a future or past spirit soul carnation interact with us? Whew, those are good questions. Carly, you want to answer that? We were talking about this with regards to Gettysburg, actually, and people's experiences there. I'm going to let Carly take this.
So, yes, I do believe dimensions can mix up. We actually had a friend who, while they own a haunted location and they live on the property, but while they were doing an investigation during one weekend, one of the owners saw a mist in the other room. It was a very thick mist. You couldn't see the room on the other side of it. There were people in the room investigating, and she took a beeline through the mist, and she felt like the wind got knocked out of her. She ended up into this very dark room with a little girl standing in front of her, and the girl was backlit, so it looked like a shadow figure, and it was like a triangle room where it went to one point. She got freaked out because she didn't know where she was or what was going on, so she turned around and she left. Now, while she was in that room, technically, they should have seen her walk into the room, right? Because she walked through the mist into the room. But that is not the case. They did not see her walking when she was in the room, and they could not see her through the mist. The only time they could see her was when she walked out of the mist. So we do believe that that is a case where she did walk through a portal into another dimension or area, or she was transported somewhere not in that room. And if you think about the location, because this is a location that's located near 3 Mile Island, which is, if people don't know where that is a nuclear reactor that was on the verge of an explosion reaction. And in order to stop it, they had to keep the rods in there, and I believe they just like covered it in cement. I think that's the story. But all
Yeah,
that,
I forget that
yeah,
actually what they did at 3 Mile Island, but they do still
all
monitor
the,
it to this day.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the radioactive steam that was released during that time actually is a lot of energy, and it can fuel paranormal activity. You also have a stream running in the back. You also have a bunch of other
Oh,
factors.
it's the
So it's
river
really the
that's right
perfect,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm for, and that takes a lot of energy to be able to produce a portal like that where people could actually go through. But in Gettysburg, people have reported going down elevators and the door, like you told me, the door opening up and
Yeah, there was a
seeing a
story about
scene
that. Yeah.
from Gettysburg, like the actual battle scenes of, like nurses going down in the elevators and seeing doctors from that era call to them. And they feel the draw to not go there and to stay where they are, and to the doors close, they don't go anywhere, the doors open again and it's gone. I believe, especially, yes, that is the case. What was the second part of the question?
Oh,
You
let me
took
go
the
back up
question
to
down.
it. I did. Yeah, I put up Steve's whites because I thought we were going to be done with that one. I'll get back to you, Steve. Hang on. I gotta find it. Here it is. Mm.
Could our
Also, on that
someone we
same
know in
kind
the
of
future?
subject, could our own, yes, or someone we know in a future or past spirit soul carnation interact with us? Oh, me,
That,
anything's possible. I've never had that
yeah, I think anything is
experience yet, but
possible. Um,
it'd
I
be
don't
nice to know,
know
Peter,
if,
if you actually experienced something like that. I've never heard of
yeah,
anything like that.
I know
Well,
things can
actually,
take
could
the image of
potentially
us.
Carly may have.
Well, we don't know if that was or not, because things can take the image of whatever they
No,
want. So you don't really know exactly if that's what you're talking to.
I still actually think it is what you originally thought it was.
We'll never know until we get to the other side, right?
That's right. I won't know until I get to the other side. But I
Yeah,
actually, there's a
so
lot of things that make sense to me of why it probably is.
anything is possible.
Anything
So
is
if anyone
possible.
has a story about that, please share.
Yeah,
That would
yeah.
be
If
very
you do have
interesting.
maybe an answer for the second part of Peter's question, I do think it's possible, Peter. I've just never personally experienced it, but I never say nothing is impossible. Anything is possible. Um, okay, back to Steve White's question. Jack and Carly, what are some of the signs of an attachment? I really don't think most people are not aware of what signs to look for, meaning that they have no idea they may have an attachment. Okay. Steve, that's a good question. Some typical signs that you may have an attachment, especially if you've just been on an investigation or investigating someplace, you may feel tired and drained for weeks on end. It won't be just 1 or 2 days after the investigation, which is known as a paranormal hangover. But it may carry on, and you may find you're just constantly tired, drained, because the spirit is draining the energy out of you. You may have times where you feel, have emotions and things that aren't really your own. You have no reason. Like you may feel a lot of anxiety for some, but you have no reason to be anxious. You have no reason to feel that. Nothing's going on that should make you feel that way. Or you may feel angry, and the same thing. There's no reason for you to be feeling angry, but you are. You can be picking up on this spirit's emotions, right? They're putting them on you. Um, You may, as time carries on, if you still don't think anything's really, you don't think you have an attachment, or you're just kind of trying to ignore things, um, you may start to see shadow figures. You may start to hear voices, like somebody talking to you and nobody else can hear them. That's also schizophrenia. Uh, but it may be a spirit attack. I mean, it's not just one thing. It starts off as one thing
Yeah.
and builds to other things. And you'll have these multiple symptoms: tiredness, feelings of anxiety or anger, or even, you have a desire to smoke or something. You've never had that. Um, these can be signs that a spirit is attached to you. Um, and you may want to have that checked out by somebody. Um, Even if you just have an inkling that you are there, you can go to a psychic medium, or you can get yourself, do a cleansing,
A
have a
Reiki session.
cleansing done. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. A Reiki session done to remove that spirit energy. Um, but those are signs. I've noticed sometimes and I've occasionally had an attachment. Usually a lot of tiredness, a lot of just exhaustion, and you have no energy whatsoever because this thing is draining the energy of you. Yeah,
No
and it
matter how
even
much you
happens to the
sleep.
best of us in this field, that we just don't realize it's something else that we didn't realize was there, attached to us and came home with us.
Yeah.
Um, it does happen, even with the best protection that you try to use, spiritual protection. It can still happen. It's rare, the more sometimes when you have this happen, you're just more aware. Next time you're investigating, of make sure you protect yourself spiritually.
Hmm.
Maybe putting more white light out around you, especially if you go back to that same location again. You want to make sure that same thing doesn't attach to you again. Um, and
Verbally say you
setting
don't want them to.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, you can. First usual sign is constant tiredness that lasts more than just a couple days. Right. Yeah. To me, that'd be one of the first signs. And as things go on, people even have stuff start to move in their house. It can start to try to interact more, even though it's attached to them. Um, but usually, the very first signs are that exhaustion that lasts more than just a couple days after an investigation. Usually, it's almost right after the investigation. So those are beginning signs. Again, emotional feelings that you have no reason to feel that way. You can almost sense that they're not your own. Might be like, why am I being so angry for? What's that about? Why
Hmm.
am I being so hostile towards somebody? And you realize that's when you have to make it snap and go, it's not me. I don't really feel that way. It's something else. And that's a good indicator that something may be attached to you and is influencing you. So hopefully that answers your question, Steve.
So I
Uh,
just want to add to that.
yeah, go ahead.
A
Go
good
ahead.
way to discern between your emotions and a spirit's emotions. Um, what I like to do is, when you put it into perspective, when you have an emotion, this is the process. You're thinking, you have a thought, you react to it, and you have an emotion to it. With spirit, if you have just a random emotion that pops up and you had no thought prior to that, and there's no reason why you should be feeling that, because I know some people have different mental disorders like depression or social anxiety or PTSD, so that will commonly come up for no reason just because of your subconscious. But there are ways, like if you don't have a thought, or if there is no specific reason for you to be anxious or angry or upset, you know that's a good discernment. Thought, emotion is your own. No thought, emotion is not your own.
Right. Good
It can
point.
be tricky sometimes, but that is
Yes,
the way.
it is, especially when you're the one who's affected. Um, Unless you've been doing this for a long time and you suddenly realize the warning signs, you may never realize it if you're not used, if you've never had this happen before. Somebody else may recognize it for you,
Yeah.
who is more versed. And Peter, glad we were able to try to answer your question as best we can. Again, we don't always have all the answers. And there may be some other people in here who have had more experiences like what you were talking about. But we tell what we know. We try to keep it to what makes sense to us, what seems to make sense of how things can happen. But we're going to help the best way we can. And yeah, I do think it is rare that those type of events happen. But then again, there may be somebody who experiences a lot. I'm just going to throw this up here because Holly Cadal. Sorry, Holly, I can't pronounce your name.
Cataldo, I think.
Cataldo. Sorry, Holly. I'm getting tongue-tied. The only experience she ever had was a day her young son told her, "I remember when I was your dad." That's very interesting because little kids don't just say stuff for no reason.
No.
So it's possible. It's possible that he did pick up part of her dad's soul, or her dad came back through her son. Anything's possible. That's very interesting, though, Holly. And I just wanted to share that with everybody for you.
He's definitely not alone because a bunch of people have talked about that to me.
Yeah, and Howie Odell brings up a good point. Paranormal is endless possibilities, looking at religion, science, etc. So many paths of understanding. That's true, Howie.
Yep.
Maybe some things aren't really feasible and possible. Maybe some things are, but we really don't know. But we trying to learn, and that's what this is about, and that's part of what this show is about, is trying to learn more, share experiences, share knowledge, and try to educate each other a little bit as to what could be a possibility and what maybe really isn't a possibility. And we'll leave it at that. And actually, people, we are going to have to say goodbye for tonight. We are actually an hour and 36 minutes. We're supposed to be an hour show, but you know us. We go on. But we appreciate everyone always coming out and listening to our show and participating in the show. We love your participation. It means a lot to us. And if you're looking for any good books, you can find my books on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Just when you go there, just put in a search. Just put in Jack Kenna in the search, and you'll see my books on there, which is Paranormal Research, Hauntings, Ghosts and Demons, and my comic book should also be out there too on Amazon. Spirits of Forgotten Souls of Bay Path. A lot of those are all based on actual cases and stuff. In my Paranormal Research book, there's a lot of stuff, including actual cases, what we actually investigated, what we did, what we found out. And what everybody, some of the actual investigators' thoughts on what it meant to them. So anyways, we will be holding classes sooner rather than later. They will be available online. It'll be up to 8 people. So with all that said, and Carl Mitchell, yes, God bless you too. God bless all of our friends out there. And we hope you all have a great night. Awesome time having you all again. Greatly appreciate you all. We love you. And we'll see you again next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.